So first, I'm going to open this door, let all the chickens out. I have a cable that runs in there, and now you'll all see them leave. And now I'll grab the water. Now, because I did a complete wash of it yesterday, I'm not going to bother scrubbing it down today because it looks pretty clean, honestly. To clean the basin out. So I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to clean the basin out, and then that'll have the chickens taken care of, except for a scoop of feed. And just in case I haven't said it, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show and the stream and the cool, fun things that we do over here. Okay. I should allow you all to see all the fun stuff. Like this cleaning process. So I got to be very careful. I have a splinter in my hand. I tried to dig out of it. I have to be very careful not to let any of the shit water hit it. They also have a pool outside that they drink from sometimes, so I try to make sure this one's is as clean as possible. Even if I'm not going to scrub it out every day, I try to make sure it's at least baseline clean. And that is baseline clean. It doesn't smell too bad, which means it's not nothing too rotten in there. It's too bad for them to eat. And now we just fill and fill and fill. We Dr. Phil. There we go. Your struggle is keeping the shoes dry. Oh God. 3 gallons of water weighs a lot when it is being held up by nothing more than the skin of your hands. Ditchafachi live? Ditchafachi. Ditchafachi? Am I pronouncing that right? That looks like Italian. And if I had to imagine, it looks like it's pronounced Ditchafachi. What am I doing? I am feeding and watering my animals. And right now I'm struggling because this fucking hook. God damn. Sometimes that hook doesn't want to go onto the water as nicely as you would like it to. Chedraku? Does anyone speak Romanian or Italian? I can't tell which language that is, but it does look like one of them. Now, turn on flash, and look, we've got an egg. We've got a nice little egg. Got a nice egg there. Got 2 nice eggs there. Ready? One of them is fresh. One of them is real fresh because it's warm. Got another egg in there. No more eggs. So we'll gather that last egg, and that's 4 just since yesterday afternoon. If your chicken eat roaches, you still eat the chicken? Yes. They eat far more disgusting things than roaches, my friend, especially if you're getting a commercially produced chicken. They're eating things you'd probably find more objectionable than roaches. But if a roach out here on our land, or I'm sorry, if a chicken out here on our land eats a roach, it's no big deal. It really is not, because one thing you think about when you're raising animals is, yes, technically whatever they eat is whatever you're eating, but it's not quite that simple, because anybody that raises animals know that there are certain things animals can eat that you can't, certain things you can eat that your animals can't. And what that means is that, or the reason for that is because of digestion, um, different digestive properties. So chickens can digest a cockroach and turn the biological material that it represents into something that is a little more human edible, like chicken meat. And they don't transfer the diseases over because I don't know for sure, but I have to imagine the reason is because they their digestive fluids probably destroy any of those diseases. And there's probably, if you think about it, not that many diseases that are communicable directly from a cockroach to a chicken and then to a human. The main reason the cockroaches cause disease in human habitations is because they'll walk through something that's contaminated, and then they'll walk onto something else that's not, and now both things are contaminated. So if you're talking about something eating a roach, well, it's going to eat whatever disease is on that roach too and process it, and then when it gets incorporated into meat, it won't be a roach anymore. I don't know. Is that a tool that I'm unfamiliar with? You probably saw one hanging down in the barn. There probably is one down there. There's every kind of weird ass tool down there. So now I'm going to give them some scratch grains. Encourage their... Man, I love that. They all come up here. Keep the work up. Hey, we try. Miss having chickens? You should get you some more. You should get you a place where you can have some chickens and have some chickens. Get that food sovereignty. So now we just throw a bunch of scratch grains out here, and they're all gonna eat those up, and that'll make the barn a little easier to work in too, because they won't be trying to trip me up and expecting me to have all kinds of treats. And meow, hi Creamy. Hey, there's 2 Tylers in the chat. That's crazy. How much land you got? I think we said on about 1.5 acres, maybe 2 acres, that is under our purview. Most of it's not super developed right now because we had to do a lot of cutting, and there's a whole story behind it told on one of my first streams. Basically, kitty, come here. Basically, my parents were divorced for 10 years, and they got back together last year, and we've been rebuilding the farm ever since. So there's a lot of stuff that does not look like it used to, like all that growth down there. There's a lot to do still. There's a lot to get back to, but that's ow. That's their scratch grains for now. And now we can use the same old tea pitcher to gather up the pellets. Everybody always compliments the garden when I show them, by the way. What you like to sing? Right now I've been listening to a lot of traditional Irish music. The song that's been stuck in my head the most has been one called Skibbereen. I'll sing it for you guys. Oh, Father dear, I often hear You speak of Erin's Isle, her lofty scenes, her valleys green, her mountains rude and wild. You say she is a pretty place, wherein a prince might dwell. So why did you abandon her? Oh, the reason to me tell. Oh, son, I lived our heart. Oh, son, I loved our native land with energy and pride. Till a blight came over all our crops, my sheep and cattle died. The rent and taxes were to pay, I could not them redeem. And that's the cruel reason I left old Skibbereen. Sing you a couple lines from that. Yeah, this is the inside of the barn. I'm honestly ashamed to show it off because it's just kind of become a clutter bucket in the last few months. Shavings barrel, beautiful, full of shavings. Fun fact, whenever we moved back to the farm, we were expecting to have to buy some shavings to start up the first brooder we put together, and turns out we didn't have to because we had a barrel full of shavings from when I was a kid, and they hadn't degraded not one bit. So that was cool. Can you do the Rocky Road to Dublin? If you post the first verse, yes, I'll try, because I tend to forget the words. But if you can look up on Google and find the first verse, and I'll try. I was practicing it the other day, so I've been getting to where I can try to. So, but yeah, I can't right off the top of my dome because that song's pretty complicated and it's got a lot of words, as any good Irish song does. But that one's particularly uh, jig-like, so not as easy for me to remember it off the top. Right now I'm just putting down water bottle for the rabbit. Like, I feel like it would be so nice if I could, if I could, wouldn't it be nice if I could, what happens if oh no. So apparently when I press the home button, it just minimizes YouTube, and then I have to reconnect. So I can't look it up myself. So I guess I can't do the Rocky Road for Dublin for you, because I cannot remember the first verse off the top of my head. I kind of remember it. In the merry month of June, started walking left my home in June, nearly broken hearted. Traipse around the corn, leave where I was born. Something, 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 something. Dun 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 dun, all the way to Dublin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hunt the hare and dance the road, all the way to Dublin. Mock for all you are. Now you've got the song stuck in my head, even if I can't really do a proper version of it. You bastard. I can do the Kerry Recruit. One morning in March I was digging the land with my brogues on me feet and me spade in me hand. And I says to myself, such a pity to see such a fine strapping lad wouldn't take from Tralee. With me tudum binya, and me tudum binya, and me tudum binya, binya, binya. I think we can all agree that the best Irish folk song is 500 Miles by the Proclaimers. Uh, Personally, I go with The Boys Are Back in Town by Thin Lizzy. But you can be wrong, Johnny. That's fine. We're all allowed, you know. That's the beautiful thing about America, right? It's that I can know the true proper Irish folk song is The Boys Are Back in Town by Thin Lizzy. And you can erroneously think that the best one is 500 Miles by the Proclaimers. And I love that we're both talking about pop songs that were released by Irishmen, which I consider that close enough to Irish folk music. It is music and it's made by Irish folk, so that's close enough, isn't it? Get this rain fly off of here. Feed the quails, the button quails. Spread their feeder out a little bit. They ain't even gonna need that much feed. Of course, they never do. It's one beautiful thing about having quail is you get a good bit of meat without a whole lot of having a whole lot of animals or having a whole bunch of feed constantly being used. So we'll do that. We'll move this one. Put that up there. Put that down here. And now let's spread that out a little bit. When I wake up, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. And when I haver, well, I know I'm gonna be the one that's havering for you. And I would walk 500 miles. I would walk 500 more just to be the one who walked 1,000 miles to at your door. La-da-da-da, la-da-da-da, la-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Is there anything left for me to do out here? Show you guys the beautiful ass garden for a second. I simply couldn't butcher my own food. I need to be the cook in some kind of commune situation and just pretend I don't overhear it happening. You're just listening to like loud rock music while the last screams of the chicken are happening. I guess you could do. There's nothing preventing you from doing that. And that's, I mean, if you think about how human beings used to live, if you think about us living in a tribal situation, that's what life used to be. I mean, that's really the arrangement that we used to be in, which is probably part of the reason why there are some people who can't do that. You know, like, because you're not the only person I've ever met who's like, I could never do that. I could never butcher my own food. I think a lot of people are like that. And I feel like that division of labor has probably been pretty normal to humanity the whole time we've been around. Because it makes sense if you think about it. It makes sense that you want some people who are really prepared to do that execution or whatever you want to call it, and the processing of that into meat. And it makes sense that you have some people that focus more on cooking it and turning it into something that's good to eat. And it also kind of makes sense that those would not necessarily be the same person because, well, number one, that way you've got people focusing in on one interest and they do that and they get to become really good at it. Number two, some people who are grossed out by there are some people who can butcher meat just fine, but cooking is just not their forte. My dad's one of them. He can take any animal you put in front of him, he can turn it into an edible carcass at the end of it, but he's not like some expert cook. He cooks pretty good. Like, don't get me wrong, he's good at it. He's just not, and he'll even say like he's not, like the same kind of cook like my mom is that can turn anything into like a gourmet meal. I mean, especially if I raise them, Meanwhile, set me on a hostile human being and they're going to have a bad day. Once again, that good old division of labor. So you would have been a good warrior or something, like assuming you're being forthright, which I think you are, because you strike me, and tell me if I'm wrong, but you strike me as as somebody in Paul's chat and my chat that's more like me, maybe, in terms of like, there are some people that are just truthful, just like the reality of their life is stranger than any fiction they could create, and so they are just truthful. I tend to think you're one of those people, and if you are, that means you probably would have been a good person to be in the warrior class. You probably would have been a good person to be um, you know personal defense for the village or something like that, and someone else would have been hunting and cooking. Someone else would have been hunting, someone else would have been cooking, someone else would have been gathering. You might have been posted up near the entrance to the village or the entrance to the cave with a longbow or a spear. In some ways, I suppose. I joke a lot, but a good joke is built on sprinkles of truth, in my opinion. Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, it's bits and exaggerations of truth usually, right? It's like, let me think of a good example. It's like if you're talking about government corruption and someone says, like, oh yeah, dude, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are like fucking sucking each other's dicks all day long in some grody bar in Manhattan. I don't think anyone literally thinks they're sucking each other's dicks. You know what I mean? It's just a comic exaggeration of the truth of the situation, which is that they're two parts of the same corrupt coin, right? So I definitely agree with you. You can't really have a good joke without referencing something true in reality and lampooning it, right? I only have about 5 minutes left, by the way, with y'all, because I have to go to Jesus. No doubt. Yeah. No doubt. For real, for real. And there, dude, it's fucking real. This is another one of those gas station joints that's, I mean, it's legal, but I feel like these hit harder than regular weed does. They definitely hit me harder in the feeling sense. So I'm kind of like using these to quit, because I know these are easier for me to put down than regular flower is, and I've been smoking just these for a number of days now, so I'm hoping one day I'll just wake up and I won't have the time to go pick one up. I don't get through an entire day and go to bed realizing I haven't smoked, and then I won't be smoking anymore. But we'll see. I mean, if I end up finding a career path that isn't the Navy, then I'm not even going to bother fully quitting. I'd probably just end up going with these legal ones until I get to a state that's got legal rec. At least it serves a purpose. Yeah, I'm not gonna pimp it like it's just as good as like real weed, because it's not. But I mean, in some ways it's better for me, but it's so quiet in here. Man, we had an active chat earlier, and now Johnny's the only one here. What are the rest of you people doing? It says there's only one person in here, but I also know YouTube's view count numbers are wonky as fuck. So I do want to say something though. You were talking about butchering your own food and raising it and shit, and I kind of want it. It's like got 5 minutes I can talk. It's a good springboard. So for me, I don't know if this is going to make any sense or if this is a defensible position or whatever, but here's how I feel about it. Humans are going to eat other living things. That's just our biology. Whether it's plants, which some studies have shown actually might have some sort of minor emotional life or something at the very least, or animals, which have definitely been shown to have at least a minor emotional life. Humans are going to be killing other things to eat them and turn them into food. And in my opinion, you can eat something that you love. You can you can use something that you love. Um, I forget exactly what Derek Jensen said about loving a thing that you use or that you anyway, so you can use something that you love and you can love something that you use, but you shouldn't exploit something that you love. So in my mind, the moral calculus comes from the distinction between exploitation and entering into a relationship with something. So, in my opinion, I am in a weird sort of predator prey established relationship with my chickens and ducks and turkeys, with my stock. Um, I love them. I give them um, I give them love and respect in exchange for their flesh. But more importantly, there is a two-way contract between us. At the end of their life, they provide me with food. But all the way up until that point, I provide them with life. And a pretty good life at that. A way better life than they would get in a commercial chicken processing facility or anything like that. And so that's why I make the distinction between um, and Derek Jensen has also made this distinction between people who um, are engaged in the exploitation of their animal resources and of their food resources, and people who are merely um, using those food resources around them. And if you're if you just have some chickens and you provide them a safe, healthy environment to live in, you're doing a good thing. You're doing you're doing good by those chickens. You're completing your part of the contract. If you house them in the smallest minimum environment possible and you take up hundreds of acres to house millions of chickens in this manner and you feed them whatever feed can be gotten for most cheaply and still provide enough nutrition to keep them alive, that's exploitation at that point. You are maximally utilizing a resource with no regard for the emotional resource, or with no regard for the emotional experience of that resource when it does have a profound emotional experience. To me, the unethical thing about eating meat, or the unethical thing to do if you're going to eat meat, is to exploit the source of that meat, to overhunt it, to over um, to overkeep it, overstock it in barns and things like that. That is the only way you can be unethical if you're eating meat, if you're eating the products of uh, animal husbandry. I could probably farm my own fish. For whatever reason, my empathy doesn't extend to them. A lot of people are like that, Johnny. I don't know why. But you're right. I mean, I'm the same way. Like, I don't look at a fish and have the same complex thoughts that I do about, say, a chicken. But I won't lie to you guys. There is like a very um, visceral feeling that runs from my fingertips all the way down to my spine that is not pleasant whenever I kill one of the animals that I've raised for food. Um, it, I don't know. It's just not a very good feeling. It's not so unpleasant that I couldn't do it anymore. It's not so unpleasant that I think I'm doing something like I don't think I'm like sinning against God or something. I just think I'm, you know, I have a very healthy love and respect for the animals that I've raised and watched grow up. And I have um, empathy for the experience that they're going through right now, which is why I try to make it important to do what my dad always said. My dad always said when I was growing up that every animal on the farm should have a really good life with only one bad day. So I try to make sure it stays that way. That's a fair assessment. I'm glad it works for you. For me, it comes down more to what I am personally down to do more than any arbitrary judgment on the act. That's fair. So you feel like you just could not, like, you get to that moment with the knife in your hand and the chicken's head in the other, and you'd be like, I can't do this. I can't. And there's some people that are like that. I thought my partner was going to be like that, honestly. I thought my partner would sit through one butchering and plucking with us and then not do it anymore. But honestly, they've really taken to it. So, which is why I'd prefer to pay someone who can do it easily by turning the produce into amazing food. Yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of people do. A lot of people, there are rich people who own land and farms who never touch their land or their farms. They hire somebody like me or somebody like my dad, or usually a family of us, to come work that land for them. And we hire people usually using a stipend from those people. Will hire people, that whoever's in that situation would hire people to help them work the land. But the people who actually own the land never end up touching it because they've got enough money to pay people to manage that entire back end. And all they know is that the duck sitting in front of them um, was raised on their farm, and the apples grew on their trees, and the potatoes grew in their fields. That's all they know, and that's all they want to know. And so I don't blame you a bit for having that impulse because I think it's something that's well founded in humanity. Now imagine a world where that wasn't just happening for rich people. Imagine a world where that was happening for everybody, where everybody really could find the place where they fit in the world. Isn't that a beautiful thing to think about? We could have that, y'all. That's the thought I'm going to leave you with as I get ready to go to work. I love you all. Goodbye.